in the Leadership Lounge, where we embark on a journey for better leadership. It is not about arrival, it is not about destination. It's just about constantly evolving so that we can better serve the people that we've been charged to serve. Today, we are live on all platforms. We are live on YouTube, live on Facebook, live on Instagram. And we have some special guests back in the lounge with us again. We were in person together when we were in DC, but I'm going to go around my screen in the way that I see it. We have Dr. Autumn Wilson. She is the Director of Spiritual Care. So happy to have her back. Say hello to everyone. We have the Brielle Winslow Majette, who is the Interim Executive Director at Garden State Equality. Back for a third time. Thank you for coming back. And we have Tiara with one R, M. Craig. I got you. Who is the founder and principal consultant of Tiara M. Craig Consulting. So we have some high level leaders in the room. And all month, I've been kind of writing letters to Black leaders, just reminding us of who we are, because that can get lost, especially when we have so many different facets of our identity, which is why today is Dear Black Leader, Leading at the Intersections. So we're going to be talking about how we have different identity markers, how they show up in leadership, how we can show up fully with full authenticity so that none of our pieces are hidden. I want to start with you, Dr. Wilson, because last time we met in DC, you kind of left us with wearing masks is exhausting, right? And sometimes we wear masks that we don't even know we're wearing, right? Just because we've been conditioned to wearing masks so much that we've assumed that that is who we truly are. So I'm going to start off with you and ask, and then we'll just pop around the room. Is there a time that you can recall that where you've had some facets of your identity you felt as though were suppressed, or you were the first in the room and you had to kind of navigate that land on your own?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again, Dr. Davis, for being in this space. It's truly an honor. One of the times I can think about, I was asked to do like some type of community relations project. We were going to Malaysia for a different exercise. I mean, this was when I was in the United States Navy. And so we were going to Malaysia for a different exercise. Well, where we were going was mostly Muslim. And so I received word back from an operations person that they said that given that I was a female in like the leader, that they were asking for my assistant to take charge in leading the operation. And I remember saying like absolutely not. And so then of course another man says to me, is it that big of a deal? Is the community relations project more important than you getting in your feelings about gender and letting someone else leave? You're missing the point. Like actually you're raising daughters first and foremost. And so are you going to ever ask your daughter to take the back seat to your son? Probably not. You're going to encourage her to be who she is in her fullness. And so I remember like people saying things and just thinking that it was me about trying to assert some type of energy or my power. And I just said, like, if I compromise on this, how many more times am I going to have to take the back seat in meeting spaces when I know that I show up 10 times out of 10 as the only Black, the only female? And so, hey, we won't have no community relations project. But then when we went into other professional spaces while being out and about in Malaysia, I just remember thinking like, man, I'm the only one in this room and it doesn't feel good. So then you find yourself code switching, then you find yourself shrinking and different things just to appease the audience.
Thank you so much for lifting that up, because I talked a little bit this month. One of the Dear Black Leaders was specifically about shrinking and how it serves no one except for your fear and somebody else's ego. Right?
Basically.
I appreciate you lifting. Anybody want to jump in and piggyback off of that? The time where
Go
your
ahead,
identity
Bria.
markers.
Sure. So I can definitely say that um, my exterior doesn't allow me to shrink, but I definitely feel the impact of who I am internally and emotionally. For the past, 2.5 months, I have been operating as the first Black executive director of my organization. And it has come with a lot of stuff. And when I say stuff, misogyny, racism, we are really seeing when you think that we're in a progressive space, you go on Facebook or you go on a news article and they're not attacking you for your performance. They're not attacking you for your work ethic because, we're always taught that we have to be 10 times better than everybody else. But they're attacking me for the only things that they know, and those are the things they see. So that I'm a woman, or that they're not sure about what my gender is because they attack my facial hair, or they attack, my skin color and my inability to their belief of my inability to lead. And I think that, like Dr. Wilson said, that it's hard being not just the first, but the only in so many spaces. And what people don't realize is a lot of times I think we get this like, you're so great, like, we love your confidence, we love this, we love that, but you don't also realize that that is draining and that is a mask. Like, I got to tell myself when I walk into this space that I'm probably going to be the only one, but I have to do this. I have to not look intimidated or seem intimidated. I gotta walk in and put my first foot forward. So I think, there's always an internal battle of, I think, fight or flight. Part of you don't feel safe, so you want to shrink, right? You want to code switch. But on the other hand, it's always like, well, if I do that, I'm not bringing my best work to the forefront. I'm not being who I authentically am. And I think that is a consistent battle that some Black leaders have.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you, Brielle. You hit on a couple things, especially about not just being the first, but being the only. Thank you, Dr. Davis, for creating this space and having us back again inside the Leadership Lounge. If I were to point out one, because there are multiple, I would probably say showing up as a federal employee in a corporate space. So you have the corporate professional space in a government agency, showing up authentically as myself in a suit and a tie. And my primary audience are senior leaders or C-suite or flag officers, depending on which area you sit in. But having the confidence not to shrink because of who they are, and understanding that they don't understand who you are.
Mm.
I'm I'm a pretty son of a gun, right? I'm pretty, but they see the hair and they see the lip gloss, then they see the suit and they see the Oxford and they see the bow tie, and then they get confused, and then now they realize that I'm the one standing up in front of them facilitating a workshop, or providing coaching or leadership development training, like that. And being able to, one, stand confident in myself and what I know, and who I am, and that takes a lot of work. But also being open to have the conversation. Not being the only in the federal government, in a lot of corporate spaces. There are a lot of cis, white, masculine presenting white women, and
Mm.
they are approached and treated starkly different than a Black mass presenting woman in those spaces. So I can't say that I was the first mass presenting lesbian in the space, but first Black mass presenting person in the space. I chose to use it as an educational tool, or a teaching moment, to be open to ask questions or answer questions before they act, based on energy and body language.
Yeah, and the reason I'm so happy that you guys all were so willing to come back is because of something that Brielle named last time we were all together. Brielle, you said, you know, sometimes us just being right could save somebody's life. And for some listening, that might seem pretty dramatic, but first, it feels so isolating sometimes, especially as high level leaders. Things feel so isolating. And you guys talked about this internal battle. And I want to kind of shift and move into a space of beyond survival. Because a lot of what we talked about is right, how you just get yourself ready to be in the room to do the work that you've been asked to do, a certain level of preparedness that other people without these identity markers don't have to prepare for. Right. So we're all Black leaders. We all on the call happen to be Black queer leaders. Right. You all identify as more masculine of center, um, Black queer women leaders. Those are a lot of intersections, and I know we have some more intersections on the call that right isn't named in there. And I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday just talking about how excited I was to get on the call with you guys. And in that call, another Black leader question asked like, oh, Black masculine identified women have different challenges than Black, right, feminine of center leaders? That was the question, right? And I was immediately, I'm like, yeah, like you don't see it. But so but we had some rich dialogue about it. That's why I'm so happy that you are here, because when we're in spaces all together all the time, a lot of things can be assumed. And now we have the opportunity to kind of unpack those assumptions. So thank you again for being in the room. Want to move beyond survival. So we have this notion that we're talking about like beyond survival, we are thriving, right? When you find yourself in those spaces where you're thriving, right? And you're feeling not the necessary pressure or these internal struggles. What's happening for you? What have you done to help yourself get there? Because sometimes we think that is external, right? Things. But what have you done to get yourself there to kind of maybe share with others how we can move beyond surviving, because it's tough navigating all of this.
I mean, I'll go first. For me, I can say I call on all the people that are in my head, right? It's a whole council in there, right? And they're constantly giving me pep talks. There's somebody's going to give me some spiritual pep talk. There's a therapist in there that's doing something. There's one in there that's got some comic relief. So, in addition to giving myself a pep talk in the mirror before I begin, like I think I said in the last time, if you don't believe in yourself, you can't um want someone else to believe in you. So I, hype myself up myself in the mirror. But then I get with the people that are inside there and say, okay, we're about to do this. And when the energy's off, somebody's talking to me. When the comment comes that may be disrespectful or uneducated or ignorant, there's somebody else in there talking. So it's a constant self-talk happening when I'm thriving, right, on the inside. I don't know if anybody else facilitates or does workshops or gives keynotes or anything like that, and you go up there and you give it your all and you get these applause and it's wonderful, but when you're done, you're depleted because it's so much work happening on the inside. While that's happening, while you're thriving, while it's perceived that everything is going great, it's so much happening on the inside that when it's over, you're like, I need a shower and a nap.
It's so real.
And I was about to say, when are we ever thrive? Like, when are we ever thriving? Um, and I feel like I'm always in survival mode. But just to piggyback on to what Tiara said, I believe it's important to set your intentions for the day, whether you're a person of faith or not. For people who are more faith specific, there are different things that could be utilized: Bible, devotionals, Quran, etc. And for those who are not, sometimes it's writing yourself affirmation statements. I'm big on music. I connect to music, and so it's important for me to at least have a good 10 minutes of uninterrupted time on my drive into work, listening to some of my most hypest uh, gospel music. Uh, there's this one song I think by Ricky Diller, "Today Will Be the Best Day of Your Life." And
Hmm.
so when I'm not feeling like anything is the best, that's one of the songs that I always go to, because I know it's going to immediately get me moving. It's going to get me changing my thought process. It's going to help me center myself and set my intentions. Before I meet with my staff or anybody, I walk to my office, I sit down, I don't open my laptop, and I'm writing out my attention for the day, because I believe that we have the authority to command
Yeah.
what we receive into our day. And so that's one way I show up in spaces that are not made for us systemically
Mm.
to thrive. Because a lot of spaces are built for us to just go in survival mode all the time. And so I think to switch or intersect that thriving piece in there is some real deep internal work.
Absolutely. I think my answer is a little bit of both of what y'all said. Dr. Wilson, when you were talking about music, I was thinking about how Tiara and I were in at Creating Change before we had our day long
Oh
symposium.
yeah.
Tiara put on the music when we were in there, just like bumping and listening to some like classic rap and R&B and just moving. But I think that and music always gets me in the mood. You could have it doesn't matter what kind of whatever music is the vibe for today. It always kind of sets you in a at your baseline and ready to go. But I think that one of the things that I've learned as a leader was that when I finally came into the space of learning about my neurodivergencies, I realized that there was a different kind of preparation that I needed to have to walk into spaces. Tiara just mentioned how, and my therapist started to say this to me, that although the space that I thrive the most is like panels, because you get to be your authentic self. I get to talk to you like I can talk to anyone else, XYZ. But then afterwards, I'm so drained. And I didn't understand why. I was like, this is my favorite thing. Like, why am I feeling like I don't want to talk to nobody after this? Like, I don't want to XYZ. And my therapist was like, hey, like, think about how many spoons you have, spoons theory. Think about how many spoons you have every single day.
Mhm.
And like, what do you expend your spoons on? And she broke it down even to like, you drive an hour to work, that's still spoons.
Mhm.
You having a conversation or a one-on-one, that's still spoons. Even thinking about like as a leader, which meetings, and as I even in my deputy director role, but even more so now, looking at my days and which meetings am I running versus which meetings am I a participant in. And on the days that I have 5 meetings that I'm running, realizing what that does to my energy and what that does to like who I am. So I think a lot of, mindfulness practice and being in therapy, and that has really set me up for success when I walk into these spaces, because it allows for me to center myself. It allows for me to be in touch with what I'm feeling and to say, hey, this is too much. I'm drained, and I'm learning to do that as I move forward, because we push ourselves so much, and that is survival mode. But thriving is being able to know your limit. It's
Mm.
being able to show up, and it's being able to know your limit in a way that you can give your best in the spaces that you show up, because you take care of yourself beforehand. So definitely a space I'm working on, but those are some of the things that I've been using to try to show up as my best self.
And I appreciate you even lifting that. That's something that you're working on. Because many times, especially when we're in charge of leading folks, we think we're supposed to get there, right? And that's why every in the leadership lounge episode, I'm clear to say there's no arrival, there's no destination. It's always a journey,
Hmm.
because there's always this constant right evolution, and you're working on it. So I appreciate you lifting that. It's not something that you get to. And Dr. Autumn, I think that you touched on this too. Like, are we ever thriving? So I think we have these moments, right, where we're thriving, but then there's always this constant state of being. Tiara, last time we spoke, when we were in DC, you brought up a point about how when you were in the military, right, things were so prescribed for you that when you got out and into leadership, you were like, I'm going to be me,
Hmm.
right?
Period. 100% authentic.
Like, no more. And throughout this Dear Black Leader series, I've been intentional on focusing on the conditioning and that we experience, some of which we don't realize we're experiencing, and how it influences how we show up in the world. So I've been really, really serious on focusing on the conditioning, because so much is prescribed for us. So, thank you for sharing what you do in order to get to your thriving space. How did you get there? And if you can also add, or if you want to add, how does one go about finding out how to get there, right? Because what works for Dr. Autumn may not work for me, vice versa. So either how did you get there, and or how would you suggest somebody get to finding out, like, What are the things that allow you to be in thriving space, even just for a moment?
I'm going to say this real quick, like my people. Yes, we're out here in the leadership lounge, but these are my people, right? So that is one of the things. I'm a firm believer that you have people and there's somebody speaking your name in spaces that you have no idea, right? So, to get in that space is to be about being authentic, one with yourself, but then having that trusted circle of friends. And it does not have to be huge, because I'm one to tell you, I don't have a large circle of friends, but I have a true circle of people, my folks, right? That get at me when I need to be get at, that motivates me. Somebody's gonna pray for me, somebody gonna send me a song or a playlist, right? But somebody's also gonna be like, hey, I know somebody that needs this, let me put you on, right? So and I'm going to be absolutely intentional. The 8.5 by 11s have been doing it for years. They know somebody, hey, I come talk to this person, right? Nepotism is real in that community. And right now, we are doing it ourselves. Like, hey, I got this money to spend, come get it. I know you can do it just as well as such and such and such and such. Come get this money. And I think that they are seeing it, right? I think that they're seeing it, and that they're in places where they're trying to stop it. I was, talking to somebody, was like, oh, this organization needs this skill, this service, but we don't want nobody to look like you to do it.
Hmm.
You know, they rather go without than to have somebody that's, that is in community with a person that looks like that person. So I think, having folks in your circle, being authentic, knowing when to say no. All them people like, hey, TC, can you do this? Nah. But I might know somebody who can. Or hell yeah, I can do that. Whatever it is. And the last thing I'll say is setting boundaries.
Hmm.
Boundaries for yourself, before others set boundaries on you. I set boundaries, others set limitations, right?
Ooh.
So
Say it again.
uh, I set boundaries and others set limitations.
Okay, now.
And I don't allow others to limit me. So I, put boundaries, place boundaries myself, because then I can control those boundaries. I can shift them out, I can expand them whichever way that I need to at that moment. But I have control over it versus someone limiting me.
All right. So,
And that's basically it in a nutshell.
that
That's
was that.
basically it in a nutshell. I think the one thing that I'll add is I, I am where I am because of both trials and triumphs.
Hmm.
Spent a lot of time in the military in trial era, right? And so
Hmm.
I don't feel that I reached my triumph moment until I got to 40 and I'm approaching 43. And I remember my grandmother saying to me on the hymn of my 40th birthday that I want this to be your best year. I want you to
Hmm.
focus on paying more attention to what you like and why you do what you do and not people pleasing. And so to hear that from someone who's almost who is 80 and still very much cater to the needs of her family, but the encouragement and like the passing of the torch to say you've already done it. You here because of what you did to get to this point. So don't apologize for how you show up.
Hmm.
And again, coming from like an elder and a black woman elder where we put on capes for so many different people, that was all that I needed. And so showing up at, for the healthcare organization that I work for that's primarily Catholic, people say to me all the time, how did you get through the door? You're non-Catholic. They usually don't hire non-Catholics in this role. Well, guess what? I'm here. My skill set got me here. You can check the letters behind my name. I'm not apologizing for nothing. Chat GPT didn't get me my degree. I earned everything. And so this for me, I feel like I'm living more into my triumph moments.
Mm.
And so I show up in those spaces. with a triumph attitude.
So good.
I forgot what the question was because I was so stuck on the 8.5 by 11 that TC
That caught
said
me off guard. I was like,
like
oh, that
10
was
minutes ago. Like I just, clever, clever.
good. That is
Um, um but
but
any I know I got it.
But you got it though, right? But you got it though, right?
No, absolutely, absolutely. In leadership roles, you got to be able to catch what people are throwing
yeah,
too.
yeah.
So that's a good skill to have. But I will say that the only thing I was going to say was I think I shared last time that it took me being in a space where all of my authenticity was stripped away for me to know that I would never live another day not
Hmm.
being myself. And
Yeah.
I think that, I believe that people, I always say everybody has their own role, whether that's in advocacy, whether that's in leadership. Like, you don't have to be the manager to be a leader, but everybody plays their
Hmm.
role. But there's a specific type of person, and a lot of times Black women, and it's unfortunate because we are trying to push back on being resilient and being strong and being all of those things, but we naturally are, that we do like sustain things that other people run away from, or we do step up or step into spaces that other people shy away from, which isn't something that we always need to be proud of. But when you're thinking about, like, Autumn said, her grandma, spoke those words into her, like, I've noticed as I've moved forward, and me and Dr. Davis talk about this a lot, that although I am not the most like spiritual, well, she says that I'm spiritual in other
I
ways,
do. That's how
and
you
we're
think about
working
it.
on that. But I will say, when I was thinking about what my leadership looked like, or feeling like I guess I've arrived, or I'm arriving and into the space I'm supposed to be in that moment, because it's ever evolving, I think about how things just happen at the times that they need to happen. So, like, I'll give you an example. Like, I was receiving a racial justice award, and it was a few minutes before, Autumn, you said chat GPT, which I don't use. I had no speech, I didn't know what to do, and I just happened to be like, I was like, I need motivation, like, let me look for something. And I happened to find, my grandma's, she had written all of the steps she took as a Black woman in the medical profession back in the 1950s, the first of her space, working with all white women to fight for equal pay. And she wrote down how much all these white women who were 2, 3 levels below her were making, and how much more they were making than her, and what she did. And that, like, one, let me know that, like, it's a legacy, it's in my blood to do what I do. However, the things that you need kind of come when they're supposed to. So, like,
Hmm.
I thinking about like the non-spiritual spiritualness, I was thinking about the other day that right before all this happened, this conflict, I walked into Dr. Davis's church and I spoke about Daniel in the lion's den, unbeknownst to me that 2 weeks later, I'd be pushed into this lion's den that I've been in. And then this past week, thinking about Tiara saying, folks that hold you, you really figure out that Black and brown people, the way we hold each other is so different. And although I don't frequent, like, that church, or church in particular, the bishop of that church texted me a few days ago, and said, I think this sermon is for you. It's called Use Me Until You Use Me Up. And he said, I think you need to be here because you need to be reminded about the assignment that you have. And so when you're thinking about leaving spaces, this is probably the second time I've been to church in 10 years. And I left there, but I felt the energy of, like, okay, remember my assignment, despite being in the lion's den, despite all of
Hmm.
the 8 by 11s, despite all of the misogyny and racism. And I think those have been things, my people holding me and breathing love and life into me is probably the strongest thing that I've had, as a leader.
And that collective, that right, that collective spirit that we get to share. One of the Dear Black leaders was, Dear Black leader, your power is in your roots, right? Just reminding us that we're walking into no space alone ever, right? We're never alone in any space because we carry this power, we carry this love, we carry this joy in our DNA. We inherited this. And the more we get to tap into that, the more we get to walk in our fullness without apology, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate you kind of like at some point you just get fed up. At some point you get fed up and trying to, I'm hoping that these platforms help people to start to live in their fullness prior to getting fed up, right? You don't gotta get fed up in order to be able to start to walk in your fullness. But this collective joy that we talk about is so powerful, but yet our conditioning has been to pit us against each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
We two consultants in the room, right? Tiara and myself, and we are sharing space right now, but our conditioning was that only I can be in the room, right? Because then you're going to take money out of my mouth, right? That has been our conditioning, and we're pushing back on that with such a radical behavior that I love. How important has it been for that shift of relying on collective ability been for you specifically in your roles?
I can start. So be it that I went to Howard University, and I mentioned that because your first week, as soon as you get to Howard, they have you up at 8 a.m. every day for orientation for 5 days, and it's long as hell. However, the first thing they say to you is you're going to leave with black lawyers, black doctors,
Mm,
black dentists, black business individuals, black everything.
mm,
And they teach you that collective because for most of us, that's the first time you're in a space with just us, and you see yourself in a teacher, in an engineer, in a dentist, in a political elected official. You see yourself and you learn about yourself. And they taught, it's deeply rooted. Two things, deeply rooted. And I was thinking about this the other day, talking to someone who works at Howard now, that if y'all have ever been to Howard, when you hear somebody introduce themselves, you already know what it is. Like, you know that it's the Mecca. Like, my name is Brielle Winslow Majette. I'm a sports medicine major. This is my sophomore year. Like, I'm gonna give you the whole rundown because that is me. And I think that when I think about like the collective, I saw that then, but I think there you're just kind of learning the framework of
mm,
that. But because of that, wherever I go, I'm always like y'all three can say when we were at Creating Change, we're like, okay, so this came from, we're like Autumn. It was the first time I met Autumn, and Autumn's on the podcast with us, and now Autumn's on the podcast again. And Dr. Davis, like we were, I was like, come to Creating Change, and Tiara, like we've been, moving for a while now, but everywhere we go, we think about how to build.
mm,
And that because we are, I think, are in leadership and we understand
mm,
that you have to bring your people with you, we're
mhm,
not worried about that competitiveness. Because I know if I go somewhere, Autumn's coming there, TC's coming there, Dr. Davis is coming there. So wherever we go, we're building and thinking about, okay, so I have a faith-based person, I have a person who's doing consulting, I have a person who's been in education. Like, how do we capitalize on
Yes.
that in a way that feels good for us, in a way that the community needs? And I think that that is something really powerful that all four of us and some of the other people in our group shares.
Yeah. I mean, iron sharpens iron, right? And so you have to know and use your discernment or your gut feeling or however you whatever you call it, to know that everybody is not your people. Now,
mm,
people have friends, and then people have some associates, right? You got some road to everybody is not your people. And once you get that part down, you have to know, okay, we're not going to be crabs in a bucket. I'm going to go back, way back, like Autumn and I, we were in a room full of people, and we found each other, and we had to remove ourselves from each other, from those folks, to connect with one another,
mm,
right? And that was pre-joy, so God only knows how many years ago that was, right? uh, and it's just locked in. And though wherever she is in the world, whatever she's doing, it's like, okay, you know we're going to come back. I Divinely, we found ourselves at the same federal agency at the same time. and then magnetic, right? We found ourselves in the same geographic area at the same time. So when you find your people, and those are the people that you're supposed to have, those people are going to help you level up, then that, because there are still some of us who will try to pull you down.
Yeah.
I'm sure you, in a comment somewhere, there's somebody that had a snarky comment, or what does she think she doing? It's not lesbian history month. It's not women's history month. This is Black history month. Like, there's somebody somewhere that's got something to
Yeah.
say, that looks like us, that maybe have the same thought process as us, but they're not our people, right? And so for us, it's continuing um to push each other, to big each other up, to have those quiet conversations, to hold space when things are going left, and then to be on conversations like this, right? Because my circle doesn't know Dr. Davis, but I know Dr. Davis is a dope as individual. Now my people are like, all right, let me go, check out what's going on. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we're building as we climb. I say building as we climb.
That's right, sister. We met over 10 years, almost 10 years ago. And I
Hmm.
because we met over 10 years ago and there's history, I want to challenge you a little bit. They are our people, but they are people who have been embedded in white supremacy.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so, and that's the
Hmm.
unfortunate piece, that even
Hmm.
now we have the ability to shift and be more Afrocentric in our approach. We unfortunately are married to this whole concept of being
Mm.
around each other with the white supremacy mindset. I
Hmm.
think the collective is so important because it sustained and kept our ancestors. It is still
Mm.
sustaining and keeping our people now. I have friends who hold the same role as me. I've interview Black women who were trying to geographically relocate from one place to the next, and I'm saying, like, look, how can I help you? How can I? And even with my staff, and I have a staff of men, I'm saying to them, I'm training you to do my job because I'm
Hmm.
comfortable at what I do. And if you feel like at any point you want to pursue my position, by all means. I'm not limited to a position, a title, or what have you. And unfortunately, a lot of people mindset is of such. I keep talking about my grandmother because so much of a collective way of thinking started with her. My grandmother made $19,000 a year. I don't. By the time she retired, I think she was only at $34,000. I had no idea or no concept that she made such little money. I used to think homegirl was richer, running some paper or something because it just never made sense. But I saw her 7 days a week feed people out of our kitchen, people off the street, people passing by, people in the hospitals, elderly people at the age of 7. I was having to walk down the street to take everybody on the block who was elderly and didn't have any family meals. She kept the community thriving, and she is still doing the same, not on hardly any income, but yet, things just continue to flow in. And I believe that it flows in because of how much she puts out. And so, if we could shift, if our people could shift from a scarcity mindset
Yeah.
and a mindset of keeping what I have inside my house, we can take care of everything that's going on in DC. We can take care of
Hmm.
the families that are impacted by SNAP benefits and the families that are impacted by Medicare, Medicaid, these high ass electric bills, if we move from such a scarcity mindset.
And that's so important too, because like what I'm hearing as a through line between what everyone is saying is that when you get to be authentically yourself and you're surrounding yourself with your people, right? The people that are going to help you build and you help them build, you get to just play your role, right? So no matter
Hmm.
what resources you have, you get to just play your role. Whatever skill, education level, what you feel as though you have or don't have, play your role. And as long as you're playing your role,
Absolutely.
it will benefit the collective. Right? We don't have to do that. My thing don't gotta look like your thing. We could be in the same exact field, And my thing doesn't look like Tiara's thing, and Tiara is bringing something to the table that I can't bring, right? So that is
Hmm.
always going to happen, and if we just play our role. Now, believe it or not, we coming up to the end, so I do want to leave everyone, since it was Dear Black Leader, and we've been talking to ourselves for the month of February. If you were to leave a black leader with something, right, that you want them to be to have a takeaway for themselves that could rejuvenate their spirit, allow them to thrive, if only in for a moment, remind them of who they are, what would it be? But since we've been leading at the intersections, feel free to name as many or as little intersections as you want. For example, dear black leader, dear black queer leader, dear black woman leader, what would it be? What are you going to leave us with if you were talking to the version
All
of you that
right.
you
So
have seen?
I guess I'll start right now because my glasses keeps sliding down. So I'll say, dear Black lesbian perimenopausal leader.
Mm.
Don't forget your fan. No, no, no. No, I would really say, rest is necessary. Rest is resistance. Rest is radical. Um, get your rest. Take your naps. Take your vacations. Self-care can be, sitting in the bathtub a little bit longer, standing in the shower a little bit longer. But, and I mean, those who know me, I use lesbian. That's my dear Black lesbian leader. Take your rest. You've earned it.
Dear black lesbian perimenopausal leader.
Perimenopausal leader, honey.
Gotcha.
Because, honey, I am glistening. If you can't tell, I am over here glistening. Okay.
Call that highlights.
Okay, it's a power surge. My grandma told me that too. My grandma, she was like, "Oh, babe, you'll have some power surges," and that's what I call it. These are power surges over here.
I like that.
I think I would say, dear Black, um, young, middle age, um, senior woman leader. Show up in the room and take up space. Don't
Mm,
apologize if your space expands over to anybody else. You've earned every right to be up there. Your space taking up is not too much. The room has capacity to hold all that you bring.
yes, take up your space. I like that.
I should have went first because y'all, all this wisdom and all this wisdom and Autumn. I was thinking about how they called us well, me also an elder while I
And
was at
aunties,
exactly. Now I'm an auntie, but so dear Black auntie leader, no, but
come
uh,
on, elder.
uh, dear Black lesbian leader with neurodivergencies and sometimes some facial hair, um, if you want it. Your neurodivergencies are your superpower. Your anxiety means you care. Your attention
Mhm.
makes you creative. Learn yourself and learn your quirks. Um, get a therapist who understands and wants to build with you. Be you unapologetically and allow your intersections to not hold you back or create spaces of trauma, but to break ceilings and barriers and lead pathways for those young Black, lesbian, neurodivergent, maybe got some facial hair, auntie leaders.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone, from the bottom of my heart for being back in the Leadership Lounge. You all bring such a wealth of knowledge, wisdom. Most important to me is that you just bring this spirit of love everywhere you go. And I think whenever you do that, there's nothing that we can't tackle, especially together when we're all bringing that spirit of love, and you guys do it so freely. So thank you. Thank you. We want to end out, if you want to let everyone know how they can find you on your platforms. Tiara, you can go last. You can start pulling it up. Oh no, it was you, Autumn, right? Who had to pull it up?
See, she just called us aunties again, Autumn. I'm just letting y'all know. Okay. She said,
Yeah.
I know you're gonna need a little bit of time. I
Oh
know you're gonna need
God.
a little bit of
Let me
time.
let me help
So
you out. Give you a head start.
If you watching or listening, get a pen. Let figure out where you get to follow this brilliance.
Well, you can follow me on IG at Dr. underscore AM Wilson. I'm also on Facebook underneath another name, but I would just say follow me on the IG side of the house. I'm on LinkedIn as Autumn Wilson.
I was about to
Brielle,
say,
you
Auntie,
have muted yourself. Yeah, yeah.
I was about to say, Auntie, you've been practicing. That was quick. Oh, I knew it. I knew.
Your eye contact being slow.
If you be prepared, you ain't got to get ready.
No, you're right. You're right.
Okay.
You're right. What did Tiara say? You make mistakes and you learn from them. So
Yeah.
you was ready. You was ready. You can find me on IG. That is my last name. So Winslow underscore Majet is my handle on Instagram. And then Brielle Winslow Majet, my full name, is where you can find me on Facebook.
All right, me. I am Tiara Craig on all platforms. I am also Tiara M. Craig Consulting. If you want to get in community professionally, we can do that. But across everything except for X, I'm Tiara Craig.
Thank you, thank you. And also with Garden State Equality, there is Rooted in Equality coming up. That is April 21st and 22nd. The registration is free, FREE. That doesn't happen normally. So you want to go ahead and register and get your seat. That is Rooted in Equality coming up April 21st and 22nd. It is a 2-day experience to be had. Until next time, remember, there is no arrival, there is no destination. It's all about evolving to get better and better each day. See you later, everyone.